I'm doing fine. So leave me alone, so leave me alone, so leave me alone. I'm doing fine. So leave me alone, so leave me alone, so leave me alone. I'm doing fine. So leave me alone, so leave me alone, so leave me alone. I'm doing fine. So leave me alone, so leave me alone, so leave me alone, leave me alone.
Okay. I don't know what that was, Terry.
Hey.
It's like all of a sudden our video just got played in slow motion, like we haven't done this in a few weeks. The whole streaming platform forgot how this thing works. Zach Burns, Terry Holloman, it's Anarchist Jurisdiction. And I was looking at the last time I DM'd you, the restream info March 9th. It's been 3 weeks, buddy. How you doing?
I've been all right. I feel like I'm older now. I got a little gray in my beard since you left.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're aging.
I've had a couple of kids since then.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Adding to the portfolio.
I started watching Law and Order SVU and Criminal Minds, so I'm aging my own weird way.
Never seen any episodes of either one of those.
Me either. Well, actually, no. I watched the first 5 minutes of Law and Order SVU, which is Special Victims Unit, which means sex crimes.
Right.
And that the audience for Law and Order is beyond. It's as old as Fox News.
Right.
Tucker Carlson is a young whippersnapper to them. And then I'm watching SVU, and it's the most sexually graphic sex crime I've ever seen on TV. And yet the reason the industry that I've been working in for the last 15 years got so severely punished was because Janet Jackson let her nipple slip out for an eighth of a second. But on SVU, they can be and then the 15-year-old was anally penetrated. It's Jesus.
And that's the very reason why I don't watch those shows.
No, it's not fun.
It's not fun. It's dark, and it's just
yeah, no fun.
Yeah.
And I watching just network TV at this point is. It's kind of it's like, remember those compilations that were now that's what I call music?
Yeah.
And it was all the hits. It was if you're just too lazy to find your own stuff, we'll put it all together on one CD, and there you go.
Yeah.
That's what network TV kind of feels like now.
The crazy thing is, and here's the thing. I was actually thinking about this. I think it might have been last night, and I swore up and down for the longest time that I would never become one of these people. That I would always be tied in and tuned in to network, television. I love my NBC and CBS shows and all that good stuff. And I think through the pandemic and through just being, so, indulged in the streaming, I have become the cable snob. That I don't like there's nothing on regular TV that interests me anymore.
No, the last show that I thought had any value and could possibly be on, because even AMC now seems rather bland when you look at what Netflix is putting out, was The Good Wife, which I thought was a pretty well structured, taut show, and was able to exist with it. The problem with them is, Terry, is they still have to exist within FCC limitations,
right.
So they can't really present a true program for adults,
right?
And they have to achieve the widest audience possible. So they have to sacrifice quality for that. And, what it's meant is that I don't know anybody who's under 40 who's looking at like, well, I can't wait for NBC's fall lineup. Remember that used to be like an
Oh my
exciting
God.
thing.
Dude, I used to be so on fire for like the new NBC or the whatever it is, ABC, like the fall lineup, what's gonna be playing on Friday nights, like from
TGIF,
TGIF.
like when they were like, I remember when they were like, step by step, I'm in already. Like whatever they would add to it, just the 10 of us. Holy shit, 10 people in one house. How are they going to make this work? Coach Lubbock, you are a saint. And that used to be like it was like almost like front page entertainment news. CBS announces its fall lineup, and now they're just like they squeak it in. At, you know, if you just happen to be watching CBS, or like, hey, you know, we got a new show. Maybe you like it, but
They
you know, we
like,
understand
like
most of you won't.
previews of it and get y'all pumped up and like
So
have a
pumped.
special. Like there's the 30-minute special of all the new shows that are coming out, and everybody would
Like Thompson and Shelley Long would host it. They'd be like, the cast of Cheers presents the fall lineup, and you'd be like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see what they got coming out.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, but yeah, now it's primarily, you know, I still think primarily Netflix, although it's becoming more and more divided. And then obviously during the pandemic, production of everything has slowed. Yeah, I don't think it's not even snobbish anymore. It's just common sense that you would turn to one of the streaming options, or even CBS All Access is putting out better stuff than CBS is, or Paramount Plus,
Whatever.
smart to rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
Than, you know, the actual networks are. And I'm sure the networks are 30 Rock, the whole show, 30 Rock, which existed back in 2009, I think is when the premiere was, or probably even earlier than that, 2007. They predicted the fall of network television while being on network television. And everything that they said was absolutely true. Like there's just this dwindling audience that will tune into a certain show at a certain time. Thanks for everyone who started watching us at 5 o'clock tonight. That doesn't have the easiest way to watch later. Like even DVRing right now seems like a bother for a lot of people. Like, why would you bother when you could just watch a show on Netflix whenever you want, pause it because you're tired 18 minutes in, and go back to it? Yeah. And this is like it's not like we're having a revolutionary conversation. This has been habits for the last 5 years, but it's weird that the networks still are slow to pick up on that.
But here's the thing, though, Zach. It might be weird that we're having this conversation this late in the game, but I'm just, to be completely honest and transparent, I feel like I might have been like the last Mohican. Like I was still trying to hang on. Like I was really still trying to stay tethered to cable, and I still am. So here's just to get an idea of like where I'm at with it now, is because so I actually got a in the time that we haven't seen each other, Zach. I got a new television.
Oh yeah,
I got a new TV. And it's one of the smart TVs. Like it has all the apps and stuff on it. So I'm getting acquainted with all that. And I sound like a freaking dinosaur right now because it's all new to me. Like I'm saying, oh, they got this app. I got Netflix. I got Hulu.
Right.
I got Peacock. Yeah. I got all this stuff, and I'm flipping through it. And then so when I got the TV, I'm thinking, okay, my cable bill is already ridiculous, and there's got to be something I can cut out. Maybe I could get rid of a cable box or something. Then I'm like, I gotta have a cable box for my new TV. But here's the thing, I have not yet plugged the cable box up to it, and I'm not missing anything. And I'm thinking now, why don't I just get rid of all this crap?
It is, but the only thing that's good why I clung on to cable till last year, and the only reason I liked it is it's this weird psychology of humans where it's kind of like why I think music radio has any audience whatsoever, is that there's songs you would never put on for yourself, but if you hear them on the radio, you crank them up. Like Tainted Love, Smells Like Teen Spirit, whatever it is. Baby Got Back. So like I would never watch The Replacement starring Keanu Reeves on demand, but if it comes on TNT on a Saturday afternoon, it's like,
play it.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and watch it. I think it's just the sort of live element to it where you just flip through, and then, but that's only probably because we grew up doing that. Yeah. Like flipping through the channels became such an exciting, especially when you were the first time you ever held the remote, because it's like it's growing up in, you know, the 80s. Well, in the 80s you had a remote, but most of the time you still had to get up and, you know, change the channel on the TV anyway. Or you had a remote that was connected to the TV.
We called it the clicker at my house.
Where's the clicker? Yes. Where's the clicker? Clicker was always lost.
Yes.
And it was always whoever ran the household ran the clicker. And then greater than any other freedom, the first time your parents or whoever ran the household was gone and you got to click through the channels. And at that point, you know, how long did it take you? 40 seconds. Yeah. But still was a thrill. And I feel like that becomes part of your DNA. And you didn't even care, you know, Seinfeld's got an old bit on this. Like, you don't care about what's on, you care about what else is on. And that kind of became the satisfying thing the first time you got 80 channels, which seems, you know, pretty finite at this point, but seemed like the universe of entertainment. Flipping through 80 channels could take you 30 minutes. And it was just like, that was just as good as watching one singular program.
Yeah. I remember since we're taking it back today, Zach, back in the 80s,
let's do it.
The coolest people on the block, or they might not even have been on your block. They probably had some huge mansion somewhere, some kid that went to your school that had a satellite dish. And they were like, for those people who are listening to us right now and are watching us, and you are younger than Gen X, you won't understand this, I don't think, as much. But there used to be people that had giant satellite dishes, like the size that you see at NASA.
Yeah, not like you see now.
Yeah, that used to be in their yards. And at one point, they used to have to move, like physically move them to pick up signals. And I think it got to a point where they had motorized ones that would move. And that's how you got extra channels. That's how you got more than like 12 channels.
Yes. But nothing, the best thing about the satellite was you would never get anything extra you wanted. You would get like Australian football
from like the Midwest, like some Midwest news channel. Like, I want to know what's going on in Minnesota right now.
But it wasn't like with satellite, it's not like you got HBO and Cinemax, which were both infantile, you know. I guess relatively infantile. Certainly Cinemax was during the 80s, but just the satellite dish, I feel like it was kind of like having, you know, a great car in your driveway, or it was prestige.
Yes.
Yes, because you're right. It was like an aquarium. Like you filled it with water. You could have baby sharks swimming around that
thing. It was huge. It was a hazard. Like if you had one in your yard and you were running around, boom, like you're going you ran into the satellite dish. And it's metal. It was metal, full metal, and
that got hot.
It got hot as hell, and it's just like a huge obstruction. Like. If like in your whole backyard, if you looked out, you couldn't see anything but a satellite dish for like some obscure channels that you're never going to watch.
Channels.
It's just ridiculous.
And then the evolution of cable was so interesting because I'm trying to think when we got cable as a family. I'm going to say when I was probably 10, and there used to be instead I don't remember us ever having HBO, but we had there used to be like regional versions of HBO. So we had something called Prism, where you could see uncensored movies on. And then they also carried the Flyers and the Sixers, and it was kind of weird because I grew up in Philly. Right. And did you have something like that? Like, was that something that every sort of region had? Because like if you subscribe to Prism, there wasn't that much need to subscribe to something like, and Prism is gone, long gone at this point. But they would show the rated R movies, and every Saturday night they would have a premiere. And then more excitingly, every Saturday night at midnight, they would show not a porn film, but certainly softcore. Emmanuel Goes to Space type stuff.
It was, what's the one I'm thinking of? Go ahead, I'll think of the name of it. Chatterley. Yeah. Lady Chatterley.
Lady Chatterley, yes.
Lady Chatterley's lover.
Which of course, was thrilling as well. But then you would have to, and I'm sure most kids know this, that the TV guide used to be essential because we couldn't just. The TV Guide channel, which seems so antiquated now, was like revolutionary when it came out because it canceled out an entire, probably like the third or fourth most successful publication in the country, behind like Time Magazine, People Magazine, and Sports Illustrated, because everybody needed to know what was happening on TV, and you would get it if your parents subscribed to it. It would arrive, on Saturday to prepare for Sunday, and. I mean, as thrilling as it was to flip through the channels, it was equally as thrilling to be like, what's coming up this week?
Yeah.
What's happening? And it would be regionalized too. So I would see what was coming up on Prism. Yeah. And then they would do interviews with like, oh, here's Valerie Bertinelli and what she's up to.
Yeah.
So they would have. There is something joyous about the randomness of that. Yeah. Like the anticipation of it, where now there's anticipation of new seasons, but once you have them, it's like then you just consume them, and you don't have to wait. Because you remember the Jack Nicholson Batman, Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
Back in '89. Yeah. Huge movie, right?
Yes.
And I saw it several times in the theater. What people can't imagine now is that came out in June of '89. That didn't come out on pay-per-view and on video till June 1990.
Yeah.
Like we do a whole year to
at least back in the day
watch that. At least.
Yeah. So that's I often marvel at that sometimes, and I look at my kids and the younger generation, and I just sometimes think you really have no idea. And I found myself like, damn, have I really turned into my parents? Like back in my day, I used to walk up both ways in the snow barefoot, that type of story. But it's really serious. Like, and again, you guys think about this, and I tell them this all the time. So if you were growing up in the 80s and you loved television, like the way I loved television, like it was like my constant, my friend, like, you know what I'm saying? Like wherever I moved in the continental United States, I could always turn on the channel and see some familiar faces, right? So I love television. But the thing about it back then is if you did not catch it on TV when it happened, the chances of you ever catching it again were slim and none. Like and it's crazy because we remember, like I remember watching stuff. You'd see it one time on TV, and it would stick, and you go to school the next day and you talk about it, and you talk about it again months from now. Like, and it was like you couldn't go DVR it. There was no on demand. You couldn't go to YouTube and like, what was that thing that so and so did on this show at this time, and just see it again. It was just gone.
It's funny. I have a friend that has already forgotten that era. He's older than I am, and he's watching the new Marvel series.
Falcon,
whatever it's called, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. And he's like, I mean, I'm not thrilled that they're releasing it once a week. I'm like fucking TV? Like that's used to be like, God forbid you should wait an entire week before having your need for it satisfied again.
That's what I'm saying. Like, look at, I mean, when you talk about some of the Netflix shows or even whatever show it might be that's on these channels now, they'll release it and they'll release the whole season at one time. You can watch it all in the day if you want to.
And people can only handle that. And I get that because there's this endorphin rush, like you and there's just this need, like it's like eating one potato chip, you need that second potato chip, and then the bag's gone. But there's value to, you get an episode, it crushes you or enlightens you at the end, and then you stew about it for a week.
Right.
You think about it for a little bit, and by the time you got the next one, you're like, all right, I have perspective on what happened in the last episode. I'm ready for this one.
That's what I'm
instead of like credits roll, credits start.
Right. Or skip credits or skip intro.
Yeah, skip intro. Yeah. God forbid.
I can't stand this next 20 seconds while this show.
So I'm rewatching Breaking Bad with someone, and they had the skip intro option for that. That intro is 9 seconds long. like brown,
Here we go.
brown. It's like you don't have the patience to sit through that.
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged, though. I mean, they gave a party. I mean, and the remote is in my hand, so why not?
Yeah,
right?
it's a good intro.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Zach, and I'm curious, if one day there'll be some kind of study about it, or if anybody even took the time to think about it, like what it is that we might have lost in all of that, in the concept of watching a show and waiting a week to see what happens, having your own imagination have to go to work over the course of the next 7 days, really put your own spin on things, figure things out, rather than I get it instantly, or I can go to the freaking chat board and find out what everybody else is thinking about. Because I think about, now that I say that, The Sopranos. I came late to the party, as you know, and I watched it, and then I would watch it till I just couldn't watch anymore, and then I'd wake up the next day and do the same thing. But in the process, I was going to the message boards. Like I would be like, what did that mean when he did this? And I go to the old school message board, and I'd be like, oh, it's just right there. So it takes a lot of the everything that goes into a person's thought process when thinking about a show. It takes the work out of it.
It does, but it's fun too to know that like you can just talk to someone besides your idiot friend who saw it. That there are people who have put maybe too much thought into it, but I think The Sopranos is a really good. It's a really good exercise to talk about how a show went from beyond just being on the airwaves to the internet, because it premiered in 1999 when the internet was just starting to emerge, and message boards, which are dwindling now because we have Twitter and everything, but people would go to them and talk about their theories and everything. So like there was this post-show community that I think is actually really fun.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that kind of stuff, but
and I do too. I'm just saying. I'm wondering if there's something we've gained, like, because here's so. This goes back to this old saying I heard a long time ago when I was a kid. It's like, every time we gain something, an advancement in as far as our technology or whatever as humans, we lose something else. So
eye contact in this exam, like eye contact. But is that okay? It's funny because I've been to so my parents have retired out in the desert in California, and they're it's the older generation, and we're not like the young generation. We're not Gen Z or anything. We're both Gen Xers, but it's always the older people are like, oh, the youngsters always have their faces down on their phones and everything. As well, they should. As well, we all should. Like we have this portal to amazing everything if we use it correctly, and I think that's okay. Yeah, we don't always use it correctly, obviously. Yeah. But that's our fault. I don't know what we're losing by having this advancement in technology, except for what you and I just talked about, kind of anticipation. Anticipation, I think, now has become something that no one cherishes anymore. Yeah. Like we just want it now, and if it's not now, then.
There's no such thing, and it goes for almost, and I think it kind of bleeds through everything in our life, because it's not just television that happens like this. We're talking about our music now. So, and again, we have kids that have been completely born into a generation where you have music on demand, and at first it was crazy when CDs first came out. Again, dating ourselves. I remember when CDs first came out, I was like, this is absolutely crazy. I can instantly pass this song and go right to the next one. And then Do
you remember you used to, like, because there were people that used to pride themselves on being able to perfectly skip that track on Hysteria and go right from animal to women. And, there was a skill to that. And then, not a valuable skill necessarily, but you're right. Like, blew our minds, and it
completely blew our minds. And now, I mean, we're at a point now where, I mean, you can literally hear any song that you want at any time, at any place, as many times in a row as you want to in an instant.
I will say the on-demand thing has hurt music more than anything, I think.
In what way?
because I don't think people get obsessed and really like sleep next to albums the way they used to. Like I don't know if there's gonna be tracks for sure. There's gonna be playlists made. But think of it like there are albums that you grew up with, like full on, that you would just listen to obsessively because you paid $12.99 for it, and because there wasn't going to be anything coming out for a while.
And because you couldn't
didn't have
skip it, you had to.
Yeah.
Because the song you wanted to hear that you knew that was the single, that's like 3 songs in. I got to listen to the first 2 to get to the third one.
And I don't know if that's better or worse, but I'm glad that I had the experience of having a rather limited access to new music. Like at most, I would get a new CD a week.
That was balling.
Yeah,
Jeez.
At most, well, during high school, maybe. And then overexposure to music now, I have to say, Terry, as annoying as record collectors are, I have found myself enjoying all music less because I have exposure to all music.
Yeah. I think it's created a culture where music has now become disposable, and it's sad to say because like you just saying what you just said brought back so many memories, man. I remember when an album would come out, and I would listen to every single track, and not only would I listen to every single track, I would take out the little insert that had the lyrics on it, and I would read the lyrics, and I would read like who was the lead vocals on that one. Who was the bass guitarist on that one? I would start to know these, like I would know who these people are.
You'd start seeing thank you to other bands.
Like I would know these bands. I would like, okay, that's Lars. That's, what I'm saying? I know who that is. And now, like, I don't think that this generation.
You don't get the liner notes.
I don't think this generation gets. I mean, you can go on Google and do that, but it's not the same thing. Like if I just instantly hear a song and I can just dispose of it. Like,
well. And now I haven't even been buying music music digitally as much because I have an Amazon Prime Music account.
Right.
So, but the last time I did, you would see the stars next to the most popular songs.
Right.
So you would just gravitate towards those instead of discovering for yourself. And it's, again, I don't know if it's better or worse, but I'm glad that I discovered music as I did. And I'm saddened now that I've just been, I don't even know what the word for it is. It's not overexposed, but it's just like, it's too easy to get it now. There used to be something about saving up for a record, getting that record, bringing it home, cherishing it. If it had the word "fuck" in it, playing it real low so your parents wouldn't hear it. Getting to know every word of every song, and then hearing the first hit single, waiting on MTV to see the video. Like there was just this whole process to it.
It was a whole process.
And that. Yeah, and it's
and then I mean, and not to, I mean, I hate to keep harping on it, but I don't, because I love this kind of stuff, man. It's like the group would drop an album, and then they'd go on tour, and they promote that album for like 6 months or a year maybe, and then they'd go away. They'd go away for a few years, and you wouldn't hear from them. And then it'd be like 2 years later, another album you get to be excited about, and then they drop a single, and then they release an album, and then repeat the process. And now it's like everybody's releasing a single. Like you got a single, and then you got another song, and then you got another song, and then another song, and then like you said, you don't get a chance to really explore.
There's no point to the album.
Yeah.
Because nobody's buying them.
Yeah.
So why not just release singles? Because that's the only thing that's going to sell anyway. No one's going to buy the complete album.
Yeah. I heard somebody say this the other day, and I'm really curious. It's a rapper by the name of Method Man from the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, yeah.
Been around for a long time. And I think he has a son now that's trying to get into the business. And he was actually doing an interview, and he was saying, I have no idea how these guys make money right now. Like, I have no idea. And that's one thing I think I've been confused about personally, and I'm still trying to put my finger on it, on how these guys are making the money that they're making right now in the entertainment industry. Because if you're streaming music, there's not a physical product that exchanges hands that you're paying for, right? So if I want to, most people are getting their music through a streaming service. Nobody's actually buying an album digitally anymore. And so they're getting fractions of pennies per time their song is played anywhere around the world. How does that add up? How does that add up to this mega stardom?
It doesn't anymore. Touring, that's it. And no one's been touring for the past year and a half, so I can't imagine that any artists are really making money. I don't know how they do it. There's some bands that have the ability to put together these super fan kits where they put in a lock of their hair or something like that. But very, very few. If you're someone who's got a passionate fan base but isn't massive, I don't know how you're making cash, because everybody gets bummed out. Like, how quick did we go from being amazed by YouTube to being fucking annoyed by 15-second ads? Like, we're immediately annoyed by any sort of inconvenience. And one of those inconveniences is having to pay money.
Right.
And now we don't have to pay money for things.
Right.
So, the future of art in terms of music is, to me, rather grim, because there's a lot of music that shouldn't need to be showcased live in order to generate cash. Like, it exists better on a recorded form. It won't sound nearly as good live as it does on a CD with lots of mixing and everything like that.
Right.
How the fuck will they ever be able to put records together like that anymore? I can't imagine.
I'm confused by it all. I'm baffled by it all. But it just, again, maybe we're showing our age with this thing, because there are people that are making a living by doing this. Like, I've never understood the concept. And again, some people are going to be mad at me for saying this, but my son, one of his favorite artists is DJ Marshmello. And he's a DJ. And there are people out there right now in the music industry that are DJs that make money doing this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to knock that, because everybody has a different hustle, but that's where the music industry is gone right now.
Because there's low overhead. You don't have any other band members. You don't have a lot of equipment to lug around.
Yeah.
I guess when I think about huge music stars now, they're probably making more cash posting pictures of themselves with vitamin water on Instagram.
Very true. Very true.
That's what they get it. They're influencers just as much as they are, which is sad, because then that becomes, when something becomes your primary source of cash, you tend to focus more on that than what you should be, which is, technically your art, your music.
Yeah, I guess, what I've seen in the last couple of weeks, I guess, or even the last couple of months, some of these, and again, I'm talking about the rap industry. I'm looking at some of these rappers. There's a guy, I don't know if we've ever talked about him on this show, by the name of Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar. We have not talked about him.
Yeah, he's quite the character, to say the least. He has the rainbow bright colored hair, tattoos all over his face and neck. He's very polarizing, to say the least. He had a federal case a few years back in which he apparently snitched on some people he was close to. Like, they were involved in some really nefarious stuff, like murder and drug dealing and whatnot. But anyways, long story short is I'm seeing him on his Instagram stuff, talking about these, he's going in and bragging about his cars that are in his garage. And he has like 6 cars that are like $250,000 each. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you get to the point where you have 6 cars that are $250,000 each? And then a watch that's worth $250,000. Like, and you're talking about it, bragging about it. Like, where does that, how much vitamin water do you have to sell?
Or are the car makers giving him the cars to appear in the Instagram or whatever video? That's what
he's saying. Like I said, the video that I saw, that I happened to stumble across, he's saying, these are all my cars. These are all paid for. These are my cars. I'm not leasing or renting any of these cars. And like, he had done stupid stuff to, like, colored it a Lamborghini in rainbow colors.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm not old, but like, I'm not young either. But he is one of those artists where it's just like, what is this? What is the value of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand. And I get, like, I never would I be a hip hop commentator on the state of hip hop, but I feel like a lot of the hip hop I've enjoyed has been quite good and is defensible, and he is indefensible. And a lot of the DJs that you mentioned too, like, let's talk about DJ Khaled. What the fuck is that, Terry? I don't get it. Like, I don't to get it. And the thing, it's always born from jealousy. He's doing very well. And he got to be in Pitch Perfect 3, which, you know, I'd love to be in a Pitch Perfect movie.
That's the life goal.
But I just don't like. I think of all the artists, because there's a lot of young artists that I think are extraordinary. But he's not even fucking young. He's like our age, by the way, too, right? Or at least body wise. I don't get that at all.
And I don't either. And that's the thing, Zach. And he's one of the guys I was actually thinking about when I was talking about that whole aspect of DJs and personalities and whatnot when it comes to the music business. I think it, and I don't think there's a rhyme or a reason for it. I mean, I think sometimes it's just some people have the luck of the draw. They're in the right places at the right time, and they're
good at branding.
It's branding, and he obviously put in the work to be out there. But the thing is, like, I mean, he doesn't rap, he doesn't sing, he doesn't.
I've never seen him DJ.
He doesn't. I mean, I think he was at one point a DJ. I think he's accredited with making some of the beats and music and tracks and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's probably somebody else touching the keys and making, you know what I'm saying, doing that stuff, and he's directing the thing and how it's going. But it's the same deal with Puff Daddy. He was never a guy that was like, like what does he do? He's not a very talented rapper. I think he's not, he just did a great job of branding himself. He built a great record company and built a great image for himself and flopped around on stage. And
he did flop around.
Yeah. And
he changed his name every so often, and that would be exciting and actually a good actor. I will give him that. The stuff that I've seen him in, he's pretty solid.
Yeah. And that's what he did. And that's what he's done. And it brings to mind something that I heard a successful rapper say probably last week, and it was 50 Cent. And he said, I can't remember who he said told him that, but he said, your career will start once your rap is done. And so once you're done rapping, basically. And so I was like, what? And then it really dawned on me. It's like a guy like Puff Daddy or a guy like 50 Cent, they probably made a good chunk of money as rappers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what they were able to do was parlay that into bigger and better things. Like Puff Daddy, he owns a vodka company. He has the clothing company. He has the record company, the publishing, the producing. He has, everything under the sun that branched out and all began from him being on the videos, doing this move right here and pretending that he can rap. You know what I'm saying?
Biggie tribute.
And that's what he's done. DJ Khaled has done the same thing. 50 Cent has done the same thing. He was an early investor in the vitamin water. Made $50 million out of that.
Ton of cash. Yeah.
You
know what? That's fucked up though, Terry. That's really fucked up. Like I don't care how old that sounds, but like branding first, leading to artist second, success second, and call me out on other examples. I'm a fan of punk stuff, and I understand the Sex Pistols were all about branding and everything, but then they delivered with the music, and then rightfully so had a very brief career. I don't like that shit where you build up this sort of Instagrammable, shareable thing, and then like the music sort of supports it, and then people still sort of eat that up. That doesn't bode well for the future of what we're going to be listening to.
It's the way of the
world. That's maybe it's not common.
It's the way of the world, and I think it goes more than just music. I think that's the way our entire society is going right now. It's built on brand awareness and how big you can build your brand and how larger than life you can have your brand before you even show anything that has true merit or value or talent or skill or anything that's attached to it. And it's unfortunate, and I'm not saying all these things to belittle anything that these people are doing, or to, I'm just really stating the facts about it, because you can look. I look. So as somebody that's doing what we do, and somewhat in the media entertainment industry, it behooves us to have as large an audience as we can. That's just plain and simple, right? So I'm looking around every single day to figure out what these people are doing to create these large audiences, to create these large followings. And so I'm looking all over social media, Zach, and it's the weirdest thing, because the people who have the most following generally have no discernible talent, no skill, nothing of value necessarily that they bring to the table, other than maybe physical attributes, doing something foolish or being outlandish.
Yeah.
So that's just the way of the world, man.
Because the world has passed us by, I guess. Passed us by, Terry. How do we connect with you? We need a consultant firm or something. We need a test group of 17-year-olds.
Oh, that's
what would make you like me?
That's what
youngster.
I don't need, man. I don't. I mean, that would probably drive me insane, because it would probably change from minute to minute.
Of course it would. I mean, how consistent were you as a 17-year-old?
I was consistently screwing up. I was pretty good at that. Like I could screw up with the best of them.
Yeah. No, I had that down too. There's no profit in that.
No.
And yeah, kids don't need it tutelage when it comes to that. We need to sell them shit, because kids got expendable cash now.
Dude, don't get me.
How would we rebrand this show to make it appealing to 17-year-olds? Probably with two different hosts, right? On a different platform.
I would probably
on
imagine, like, we'd have to get. I would love to see you with the septum piercing, whatever they call that thing.
Maybe.
One of those.
Yeah.
Get a couple of tattoos. Maybe that
one of us would have to be, at least one of us would have to be genderqueer.
Even
if we weren't
non-binary, we something.
Non-NB, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what the kids are into. And then, I don't know beyond that. But the kids also like Joe Biden, so nothing makes sense.
He's like a cuddly old great grandpa to them. Like,
you'd either be their age or just crazy old and still kind of sort of
like,
nuts.
Oh, we feel so sorry for our listeners. Oh, come on, crazy Joe.
Joe.
What are you gonna do next? Yeah, man. Because I'm definitely like so. I try my best. I'm like, okay. I'm on TV from time to time. I do the radio stuff. I know some pretty interesting people. I used to play sports and all that stuff. And so I'm like, hey, and I have kids that fall in that category. And and I'm like, hey, guess what, guys? Dad's gonna be on TV today. And they're like, click. Like, they have zero interest. Like, could care less. They don't want to know nothing about what's going on, man.
Well, because I know what show you're talking about. It doesn't surprise me they weren't. But if you don't like anything that you immediately, as you should, Pat had a great bit about this. Like, if you're going to be a good parent, get into the stuff that you don't want to be into. So when he was talking about being a theoretical parent, he was going to get crazy into Phil Collins' record, "No Jackets Required."
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, his kids would rebel against him, and they would get into the good stuff. But like, when I grew up, not growing up, but in mid-teens, there was this indie band called Guided by Voices, and this Robert had a kid because he was older, and like 17-year-old kids around the world loved Guided by Voices. Mm-hmm. And then I'm reading an interview with him. He's like, yeah, and I got a 17-year-old kid, and he hates my band. He likes Marilyn Manson because he made good stuff, and his kid kid rebelled against it.
Yeah.
So whatever you don't kids into, be into that.
Okay.
And then they'll be into.
I got to figure out what that is then, I guess. I mean, because I don't think I'm into the stuff they're into.
That's yes. Anyway,
I got to find out what my kids are into then, I guess. I got to do a better job of being a parent, find out what they like.
Anyway, Terry,
I got some breaking up going on over here. I don't know what's happening with
back to a regular schedule.
I'm with that.
You still there, buddy?
I'm kind of, but I'm glitching. It sounds like somebody's in my house using the internet at the same time.
Bars now.
Yeah, somebody's using my internet.
Use Restream for a while.
It starts to glitch, and
suddenly things get weird. Hold on, I'm gonna fix it.
Sure.